Hey guys, welcome back to the Bulwark. I am Sam Stein, managing editor here. As always, click the subscribe button. We need all the followers we can get. Look, we're not too proud to beg. I'm joined by Mona Charen, esteemed policy editor. Is that the correct title? I want to make sure I
That's the
get it
correct
exactly
title.
right. Okay. Policy editor of the Bulwark, one of our nation's great writers too. She's got a column out today. Taking I guess sledgehammer. I don't know what you want to call what you took to the Wall Street Journal. You described
Maybe a scalpel.
a scalpel, but like a longer than usual scalpel to the journal. Mona, why don't you talk a bit about your column?
Yeah. So Sam, all of us have gone through the stages of outrage about various institutions that have failed us in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
But for some reason, the Wall Street Journal has hit me harder than others. And I think it's because it really was a distinguished publication. It had for some of our progressive listeners, they're going to say, what? I never liked the Wall Street Journal. I understand. But they had integrity. Okay. They were conservative, but they were not just an organ of the GOP, for example. Like they had a view. They were very, for example, pro-free trade when many, Republicans were not. They were very pro-immigration consistently. They had views, some of which were kind of heterodox, but they had integrity. Yeah. And it was a source of great writing and thinking on a lot of subjects. And in the last 10 years, in the Trump era, they have just beclowned themselves. And they had a piece yesterday about this whole drone thing. And by the way, I loved your videos on this.
Thank you.
So good and so right on the nose. And
yeah, but have you thought perhaps that maybe the government's gotten to me and that I'm just part of the cover up here? I might be in on it. Yeah.
There you go. Yes. So now that you mention it, but the so the Journal editorial was like the drones and the decline of trust in the government. And they go on about how, all of these people think they're seeing these drones and whatever. And they even quote some office holders who are sort of contributing to the paranoia and this kind of mass hysteria, honestly. And so the paper seeks to understand what's going on and put it in a bigger context. And what do they conclude? That this is the result of an erosion of trust in government, and they attribute this to the Biden administration, saying that the Biden administration has squandered its credibility to the point that it's rational not to believe what it says. And they go on and, Sam, there is not a solitary word about Trump in this whole piece about how people have come to distrust their government.
Right.
Not a word, nothing about the fact that just in the last weeks of the campaign, Trump was telling people that FEMA was purposely withholding
aid. Trump wanted to shoot down the drones, right?
And that he said, that he popped off on Truth Social. This can't be happening without the government's knowledge. Shoot them down, And
well, Mona, let me push back on the Wall Street Journal. Not that I'm like a fan, I'm from liberal media. Like I came out of HuffPost. We definitely had our opinion on the Wall Street Journal editorial page. I would be curious what you think about in the past week or two. There's been like a series of editorials that they've written that have been very, very critical of some of Trump's nominees, RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard. They've been out front and saying that these people are either not qualified or really deserve to be more scrutinized. So is there not some element of independence or righteous thought here that we can say, maybe they are true to form, or are you past that?
Oh God. I'm kind of past it. I mean, in the world that we live in, I guess it's better that they say this than
right.
But if you read the Kim Strassel piece about
Yeah.
RFK, what is her pitch? Her pitch is that the Republican senators owe it to Trump to save him from himself.
Right.
And that
Like
he
Trump's a
had
big baby.
to do this.
Yeah.
He had to do this to win over RFK, and it was necessary to win. You know, the through line on all of the journal's thinking these days and for the last years has always been that no matter who you are, if you're a Republican, you are by definition better than any Democrat.
Right.
And so, you know, they came out for Carrie Lake in 2022.
That part of your piece really, I forgot about that.
Oh my God. They endorsed Carrie Lake.
They honestly believe that Carrie Lake was the better choice? Or
it doesn't matter what they honestly think. It's what they put out there. And look, I have friends and family who still, like, they haven't gotten the message that the Journal is no longer a reliable, that it is now a Rupert Murdoch organ of, you know, it's like The Nation. Sorry for all of you, those of you on the left.
The flip side of it. Do you think this is Murdoch specific? This turn that we've seen?
There's a big part. That's a big part of it. I do. Yeah. Because, you know, they march in tandem. You look at the New York Post editorial line and the Wall Street Journal editorial line, they're pretty much in lockstep.
Right.
And they went through their little DeSantis flirtation together.
Exactly.
And then they came back to Trump together.
Right.
Yeah. I don't get the feeling that Rupert is shy about expressing his views.
No, I've picked that up. What do you think though of sort of the broader question about conservative media in general, right? Like, it's such a rich media. It's produced incredible authoritative writers. It's also produced incredible reporters. I mean, people don't quite grasp how many of the luminaries in political reporting came up through conservative press. I mean, Robert Costa, Jonathan Martin, Betsy Woodruff, Tim Alberta, all of them came up through conservative press. Nowadays, I'm not trying to cast aspersions. I just am curious. Like, I don't sense it as much, but also that could be simply because sort of institutions of the press have been decimated, and you have a much more flattened media ecosystem writ large, and it rewards people who are not actually reporters or in seasoned media institutions. But what's your take on that?
That's right. No, I wonder, where will those people come from in the future? Right. I mean, they can come from the Bulwark.
Well, naturally, yes,
a few
of course.
Other places. But Substack, I mean, it's hard to see, you know, because without an institution, when you're a young person, you need that support, you need that structure.
Well, maybe not though, right? Like, you could nowadays, if you're a young person and you want to kind of break through, there's plenty of vehicles to do it. You can go on, do your YouTube show. You can get a Substack. You can just mouth off on X or Twitter, right? I mean,
yes, but in order to get a big audience, you have to be irresponsible and provocative, and not serious and digging into a story. That's the worry.
And do you think that's the same incentive structure at a place like the Journal? I mean, obviously not on a totally different scale, but if you're a legacy media member and you're on an editorial board, and you know people are reading your stuff and you want them to read your stuff, do you feel the need in this media ecosystem to take party line positions or more provocative positions just because you know the incentives are there for you?
Well, that's what's so sad, is that the Journal, in theory, could have been above that and chose not to be. You know, I mean, and that's Murdoch's decision as well. That, you know, here nobody was going to challenge the primacy of the Wall Street Journal, sort of atop conservative media, you know, and so they could have been a leader, and they chose not to be.
And that's the tragedy of the situation. Yeah. Well, people should read your piece. It's really great, as usual, and I mean, it's just it says a lot about both our politics and our media ecosystem currently. Mona Charen, thank you so much for doing this. Really appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching us. As always, do subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back.